Suns versus Bucks. Are you ready, G-Man?
Wait, what?
April Fools.
I hate this holiday.
Psychos and sickos unite for an April Fool's edition of PHNX Suns pregame show, of course, brought to you by our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. You do you. At Gila River Resorts and Casinos, visit playatgila.com for more details. I'm not Noah, who was sitting here before, but he is behind the Mac. I'm Eric. That's Gerald. And Gerald is angry because he hates April 1st.
I really do hate this day. It's not even a holiday. We can't call it a holiday.
Is it because of your journalistic integrity?
It's that, and it's just like the dumbest jokes that aren't even funny, or like people getting got on things that are like
Did
obvious.
you get got on something as a kid and it like just sticks with you forever?
No, I just see people getting got. It's kind of like a day for, remember all those fake like Woj accounts and Shams accounts back in the day? This is like their favorite day of the year. And so it automatically makes it one of my least favorite days of the year.
That's fair. Listen, you're just, it's the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism running through your veins.
Either that or I'm getting old. I don't know.
Yeah, that's some, that's
but I've
some
never
L
liked
Riz.
it. So, huh?
That's some L Riz.
That's some L Riz? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's just completely stop that conversation. Let's get ready for Suns Bucks round 2 on the season. Gerald, this time on the road in Milwaukee. Steven is actually at the arena. He will be getting some post-game sound from us. He'll be calling in after the game, much like you do for home games, but he's out there since he's from generally that area. So we're looking forward to talking to him post-game. So me and you holding it down for pregame. I'd ask you how you're feeling, but I kind of feel like I know how everybody's feling, but either way.
Yeah.
How you feeling?
It's apprehensive. It's doubtful. It's discouraging. All of the words that you can use. And even if they get a win tonight, it's going to be one of those situations where you take a step back and look at it and you're like, okay, cool. They inched one step closer to the play-in, but the upcoming games offer very little hope. And this game in particular is going to be really tough. The Bucks haven't been playing well. They've lost 4 games in a row, but the Suns have been smacked in the last 3 games in a row, to put it lightly. So, and now they're missing KD. They've obviously been missing Brad for a while. Royce O'Neal, like
Let's take a look at the injury report, because it's not looking too great. Obviously, like you mentioned, KD out, Bradley Beal out, Ty Jalen Bridges out, Royce O'Neal late edition out. Giannis is available. That's never good. That's basically all you need to know. But Damian Lillard out with right calf deep vein thrombosis. Basically the blood clots, kind of the same thing that Victor Wembanyama was going through. Also missing Bobby Portis, Jericho Sims, and AJ Green is questionable. Here's the thing, though, is that this was a team the Suns beat during their 3-game win streak. And yes, a win today will put them within half a game of the Kings for the 10th seed, but I don't think that after that 4-game win streak and what's happened since then, I don't know what it would take for people to actually get excited about a win now. And it's just a sad place to be.
It is. And like we had been saying a while back, it was going to take sustained success against the top tier quality of opponents that they had to close the season for anyone to realistically believe, okay, maybe this team could do something in the play-in, do something in the playoffs. But we haven't seen it. We got a 4-game win streak, and then it was right back to the same Suns team we've been watching since, late November, early December, basically. So that does nothing to offer hope. The Suns could win the next 7 games to close out the season, and you would still find me be kind of like,
That's kind of how they closed last season, though. Like they closed last season playing, some good playoff teams who were injured, and they took advantage of it, and they went into the playoffs kind of riding a hot streak. Right. And you think, oh, well, maybe they can do it. But instead of looking too far ahead in the future, we'll take a look at the standings here in a second. When it comes to tonight, no Kevin Durant, no Bradley Beal, no Royce O'Neal. It's Devin Booker and company taking on Giannis and company. What can the Suns do? What should their game plan be to try to pull off a win here on the road?
Like we've been talking about, especially on our last 3 p.m. show, they've got to find a way to make Devin Booker's life easier. And Devin Booker also has to be more aggressive as a scorer, because with Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal both out, he's going to see double team after double team after double team tonight. And it can't be one of those situations where he just gets off the ball and, hopes that his teammates make the right play. He's got to find ways to reinsert himself back into those plays after he gets off the ball. He has to find ways to get around those double teams. And the Suns have to put him in positions where he's getting dynamic touches, where it's harder to double. Don't just put the ball in his hands at the start of every possession and run a high pick and roll and let him get blitzed. You can do that a little bit and hope your other shooters are going to knock down shots, but you've also got to get Booker coming around curls. You got to get Booker going downhill off the ball. You've got to find ways to make his life a little bit easier and get him the ball in positions where he has a little bit of space to dissect the defense, to get to his spots in the mid-range, and maybe even get some catch and shoot threes, God forbid.
So starting lineup for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to guess?
Well, I already saw it.
Okay, so don't guess. April Fools.
Yeah.
Colin Gillespie, Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, Ryan Dunn, Nick Richards. How are you feeling about that starting five?
I'm not surprised. I don't feel great about it. It's small. The defense, like we've talked about Grayson and then Book's defense a lot. It needs to be better in a game like this. Colin and Ryan Dunn offer resistance on that end, but you're still going with a 3-guard lineup that's going to be small and potentially undersized, even with the Bucks missing Bobby Portis and some of the players that they have out. So I don't know. I don't feel great about this. I wonder if we're going to see some Bol tonight with both KD and Royce out. I feel like you almost have to,
yeah,
just from a size and wing positional perspective. But
and from a shooting perspective, I Bol on defense, it's been tough.
Yeah,
but from a shooting perspective, Bol should be able to at least help alleviate the tiniest amount of pressure from Devin Booker. And you mentioned the number one thing that they have to do tonight is with Book and the offense and making sure that he can get his easier and everybody else can fall into place after that. I think missing Kevin Durant, you're obviously always going to talk about the all-time bucket getting, the fact that he can give you 35 on any given night, pass the ball, rebound the ball. I think the biggest thing for this matchup tonight that they're going to be missing without Kevin Durant is defense, because now Ryan Dunn is going to probably be starting on Giannis, or it's Nick Richards, and either way, Ryan Dunn's a little too small, Nick Richards a little bit too slow. Those were not proven to be extremely effective matchups the last time that these two teams faced off, and with how susceptible the Suns could be without Royce O'Neal, without Kevin Durant, a Giannis masterclass is clearly enough to win them this game outright, and the game plan has to be to find a way to contain him. I just don't know if there's a way.
Yeah, this is going to be tough and not just like Ryan Dunn, Nick Richards, they did spend a good amount of time on Giannis last game, but when you have those two and KD in the same lineup, it's easier to switch and maybe survive a couple of possessions, especially since KD is one of their bigger, longer defenders. He offers secondary rim protection, all of that. Now you're starting off very small. You have 3 guards in there that they can target with Giannis pick and rolls to kind of, force that mismatch. And this is a guy who last time he played the Suns had 31, 10, and 5 on 12 of 19 shooting, got to the free throw line 13 times. He didn't make a ton of them, but they're going to have a really hard time stopping someone that they already have a very hard time stopping with both Royce and KD out of the lineup.
Yeah, and I feel like you're going to get some Oso minutes tonight as well. You might get a little Oso at the 4. So we'll see if he can hold it up, but his body type isn't exactly fit to be taking on a Brook Lopez, to be taking on a Giannis as well. And then when you look at the Suns' offense, Grayson Allen starting, that's great. You get a shooter, but now you get a little bit less depth off the bench. You don't have Royce O'Neal coming off the bench. So you're going to be looking at Tyus Jones to be your main source of offense. And when Tyus Jones was playing against the Bucks last game, he was getting targeted relentlessly. You're running out of good options here, especially like we've mentioned a million times without Kevin Durant.
Yeah, it's tough. And I do understand. My guess would have been that Grayson was going to fill in for KD's starting spot. I do understand the benefit of having a shooter out there because Ryan Dunn is not a fantastic shooter, obviously. Bol, his percentages are good, but he's not a volume shooter quite like Grayson Allen. He's not a spot-up threat. Teams are going to leave him open. So Grayson does give you a little bit of gravity in that sense, but defensively, you're going to be hurting. I do hope we get some Bol minutes. I hope we get plenty of Oso minutes tonight, especially if Nick Richards struggles stopping Giannis as much as he did last time around.
Maria with a $4.99 super chat says, fellas, I'm back.
Hey.
Welcome back, Maria. I wish we weren't being aired on TNT tonight. Nationally televised games feel like a jinx and bad omen. Let's pray. Was the last one the Lakers game, or was there a...
I think
Was
it
the last
the
Bucks one too?
Celtics? I can't
Oh,
remember.
yeah,
The
it was the
Celtics
Celtics
were
one.
nationally televised.
Ugh, yikes.
Or the Rockets too? I think the Rockets might have been too.
Love
It's
that.
been
Yeah, I
rough
think they
lately
were.
on national TV.
Let's keep putting the Suns on national TV. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Can we
Well-
get the national TV games in like November and December, and then the rest we just kind of trail off and see
Yeah.
how it goes?
Depending on what happens this summer, I don't know how many national TV games we're going to get. Which, by the way,
That
there
is fair.
was a Ringer article that came out earlier today talking about Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, what the Suns might be interested in doing
Mhm.
this summer. We're going to dive more into that in post game.
Yeah.
But was there anything that stood out to you that you want to bring up real quick?
I appreciated that a lot of the reporting from there was things that we have been saying on the pod for a while. It's always good when a national person is hearing the same things that you're hearing locally, because sometimes your scope is not quite as big as the national people, the sources that they have. So that's encouraging. But yeah, I think people that are wanting the Suns to trade Devin Booker to blow it all up, they might be somewhat disappointed depending on how this offseason unfolds.
Well, and I also thought that it was really interesting to hear from Devin Booker talking about we're not going to be rebuilding.
Yes.
You know, we're going to be competing for a championship.
Mhm.
And I said this, and we'll dive more into this in post game. So make sure you tune in a couple minutes after the final buzzer right here on PHNX Sports. It'll be Gerald and I, Noah behind the Mac, plus Steven calling in from Milwaukee. But Devin Booker's earned that right to not go through a rebuild. But there also is there's a middle ground between a rebuild
Mhm.
and being as aggressive as you have been in building this roster with this big three.
Right.
So hopefully being able to find that middle ground is where the Suns fall into. But there is that creeping thought in the back of your head about how Matt Ishbia talks about Devin Booker talks is, okay, are you just going to double down and be extra aggressive in a way that got you here where you're having to have articles about how disappointing of a season is in the first place?
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like people are going to interpret Book's comment about I'm never going through a rebuild again as kind of like public leveraging, like letting the front office know, like, hey, I'm not about a rebuild. I want to compete for championships. But it's also just a pure statement of fact based on everything, like where the Suns are as a team. They're not going to waste what's left of Devin Booker's prime if he is indeed off limits, as we've been reporting for weeks here. And like, just listen to Matt Ishbia speak for more than 5 seconds, and
Yeah.
you know that that's going to be the case. They're not going to rebuild as long as they have Devin Booker in his prime. It just doesn't make sense. But you're right. There is a difference between a rebuild and retooling. And maybe not being as all in, ships in the middle of the table, F those seventh graders in 2032. You can retool and still set yourself up for more sustainable long-term success instead of all in right now, 1 or 2 year window like we've seen the last year or two.
We're going to dive more into that. Plus, of course, reports about Kevin Durant not out of his way yet.
Mhm.
We'll be talking about that in our post-game show. But first, we got to get through Suns, Bucks. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Let's go ahead and take a look at our score predictions for tonight's game. Steven is refraining because he is a media member tonight. The rest of us are going Bucks. You're Bucks by 7. I'm Bucks by 15. Espo, that prick.
That's crazy that
That's
Espo's suddenly the most optimistic person.
No. Read the word before the
Oh,
number.
no. It's Bucks in 6. That's regrettable. Memories.
Bucks by 7, Gerald. How confident are you in that?
I feel like I was kind of lowballing it, to be kind,
Yeah.
to be honest with you, because I feel like this game could get away. I am hopeful that, with the conversation over the last few days, with all the doom and gloom around the team, with Kevin Durant going down, and with Booker finally coming off a decent game against a quality defense, I would like to see that carry over. I would like to see them come out with
I'd like
some
$1 million.
sense of purpose. But yeah, to your point, I don't have a lot of faith in that. I think with the not just Kevin Durant being out, but I think Royce being out in this matchup kind of hurts them as well. On top of Beal, and like they're just missing too many horses, I feel like.
Well, what do our friends over at Bet365 have the line at for this road matchup in Milwaukee? They have the Suns +6 on the spread, +200 on the money line, have the Bucks -245 on the money line, -6 on the spread. No surprises there.
Damn.
Basically falls into line with what Gerald said. But let's go ahead and take a look at our pregame picks, of course, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHNX365 when you sign up and find out why, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 plus and physically located in AZ. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, text NEXT-STEP to 53342, or visit problemgambling.az.gov. Mr. Media member Cutesy Legs will not be submitting a bet in Integrity's interest tonight, so it's just going to be Espo and I. Steven Soto will remain the same. Let's go ahead and take a look at Espo's bet for tonight. A 2-leg parlay, Bucks money line, and a Giannis triple-double. Yes. Plus 1,100 for Espo. I'm also putting my money on Giannis, but in a very different way. Very interesting bet for me.
Oh.
Giannis, over 1/2 3-pointers made. He's shooting 17% on the season. I just need him to hit one, and we love leaving people wide open at a plus 300.
I'm looking this up now, but I'm pretty sure he hit a 3 against the Suns last game. Yeah, he was 1 for 2 against the Suns last game, and that was the last time that he hit a 3 in a game. So
it's gonna happen. I can feel it in my bones.
Especially because the Suns are going to try to pack the paint because they don't have the personnel to try and stop Giannis one-on-one. He's probably going to get 1 or 2 wide open ones. You just need him to cash one of those.
Clint says, is Steven in Milwaukee? Yes, he is. He'll be calling in for a post-game show, but don't worry. He didn't leave us without his keys. Let's go ahead and take a look at what he thinks needs to happen tonight for the Suns to win.
Yeah, so key number 1, Steven's got be sharp and varied in game plan against Giannis and minimize his free throw trips. This is something we spoke to a few minutes ago. He had 13 against the Suns last game. Anyone who watched the NBA Finals a few years ago knows how often he's able to get to the free throw line against his team. Completely different personnel, but that part has not changed. So they do need to mix things up in terms of the doubles that they're sending, where they're sending them, when they're sending them, and how often they're sending them, and who is drawing the brunt of that main assignment, because that's going to be a challenge for them to hold
Grayson
up.
Allen.
Oh, God. He got strong over the summer. He didn't get that strong. Then we got key number 2, efficient pick and roll play. This makes sense, especially because the outlets for Book are not going to be they're not going to have as much gravity as normal with KD on the wing, with Royce as an outlet, one of his favorite outlets when he gets blitzed and pick and rolls for those pick and pop threes. So they're going to need to be very focused on that front, providing him with outlets and attacking on the backside. And then key number 3 is win the 3-point margin. The Bucks are actually 3rd in 3-point percentage. I didn't realize this. I think the Suns are 2nd. But the Bucks are only 18th in 3-point attempts. So the Suns need to minimize their number of attempts. This is something that we've talked about on a few post-game shows where we said, this team is really efficient shooting threes, but they don't take a ton of them. Well, the Suns are the team that gives up a ton of open threes. So you cannot let the Bucks efficiency match the volume as well tonight.
Last time these two teams played, the Suns won 108-106. They made 2 more threes, but took 3 less. They were 14-36 to Milwaukee's 12-39. But a big thing that I'm watching out for tonight is turnovers and points off of turnovers. Milwaukee had 27 points off of Phoenix Suns turnovers. The Suns had 6 off of Milwaukee Bucks turnovers. I expect that to be something that Phoenix has to keep down and controlled, especially without Kevin Durant. And I'm also looking at Ryan Dunn. Can I get another Giannis poster? Is that too much for a guy like me to ask for?
Yes.
Okay, fine. All right. If we're not going to get a win, can we at least just get a poster on Giannis?
You can have one of the two things. You can have the turnovers or you can have the poster.
I'll take the poster.
Okay. Well, that's
literally.
I mean, look, the turnovers shouldn't be too much to ask, honestly, because those numbers that you pointed out are horrific when you consider the Bucks are 27th in steals. They're 29th in points off turnovers, and they're 27th in fast break points. And the Suns gave a whole mess of those away last time. If they can cut down on those things and just somewhat contain Giannis and Book has a good game, maybe there's a path to victory here tonight. But it's not just Book. I think someone in the chat brought this up earlier. It can't just be Book going into Armani mode tonight. It has to be the other guys making the Bucks defense pay and keeping them honest for all the attention that they're going to be throwing at Book. Because if they can't execute on the backside, generate and knock down open threes out of it, it's going to be a long night for Book.
I know it can't be Armani mode the entire time, but it's like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Is it Devin Booker going Armani mode to open up the role players, or is it the role players going off to open up the court for Book to go into that mode? I think with Kevin Durant out, Devin Booker needs to start the game, aggressive scoring. He needs to hit his shot. He needs to find his groove, because then the defense gets off balance. You're going to be focusing on Book, pulling guys away from a Ryan Dunn, away from a Grayson Allen, away from a Colin Gillespie, and then allow Book to read, react, and make plays off of that.
Yes.
Milwaukee is going to be throwing a lot at Book, as every team will. You think back to that stretch where it was just Book out there, and it's that OKC game that stands out for me, beginning of the season, where they just threw a bunch at it. No, we are not doing a watch along, because every time we've done a watch along, the Suns have lost by 40. So we're going to test out our theory. The last time we didn't do a watch along was against Milwaukee, and the Suns won
There you go.
on a buzzer, not a buzzer beater, but a game winner from Devin Booker. So it is going to be very important for him tonight to score first, in my opinion, Gerald, and then dip into that playmaking bag that he's been so good at recently.
I completely agree. I think this is a game where he's going to see an inordinate amount of attention if he can find his way to get to his spots despite that. And if the Suns can put him in easier positions, I think that opens things up for everyone else, because as we've talked about, Devin Booker is a good playmaker, but that foundation of that is the attention that he draws because of the threat he brings as a scorer. So I want to see that first tonight, and then hopefully everything gets easier for everybody else. If you start the game with Booker in Steve Nash mode and trying to make Grayson Allen look like, Reggie Miller, probably going to be disappointed.
Yeah, and if you do that, and then Grayson Allen misses some shots, Ryan Dunn misses some shots, then they start off out of rhythm, and then you're really starting to fall behind. But the Suns not falling farther behind in the play-in race, Gerald, because some help from the Brooklyn Nets last night, who beat the Dallas Mavericks, and then also the Sacramento Kings lost to the Indiana Pacers by 2 points. So as it stands, let's go ahead and take a look at the push for the playoffs presented by All Pro Shade Concepts. The Suns still in the shade of gray, and I'm not talking about the books or the movies. They are 1 game behind the Sacramento Kings and a game and a half behind the Dallas Mavericks for the 10th and the 9th seed. There's still a path, Gerald, but it's just not easy.
Yeah, I mean, like we said after the Rockets game, it feels like hope for this team is dead. Their season is not technically dead yet. They're only 1 loss back from both the Mavs and the Kings. Like you said, some help from Brooklyn was big. I think the Nets were down like 10 in that game with about 8 minutes left and found a way to come back and win. The Kings lost to the Pacers like we kind of expected on our last 3 p.m. show that we talked about their remaining schedule. So they're only a loss back from these teams. They got to find a way to keep it at 40 losses and not add to that, and make up some ground in the win column. So starting tonight, this is your best chance on the road trip as a whole. And if you start the road trip off with a W, suddenly you look ahead to these upcoming games and Celtics, you're probably still going to get smacked again, but maybe you can pull off
We got this.
an upset over the Knicks or something. But if you start this one off with a loss, it's exactly what we kind of thought it would be.
Yeah, this is the easiest game of their 3-game road trip.
Yes.
Not an easy game at all.
No.
Do you have any final keys, notes, things to watch for Suns Bucks round 2?
Yeah, I'm preemptively already upset about the number of offensive rebounds they're going to give up, because they are undersized without KD, without Royce. They've lost 2 of their better rebounders and more committed rebounders on that facet. The Bucks are 30th in offensive rebounds. They're dead last. They're 29th in second chance points, and I can still see a path to Giannis grabbing 5 or 6 of them by himself just because of the matchup. So I hope that I'm wrong on that. But that's one thing to keep an eye on. The Bucks, like I said, they have lost 4 games in a row, but they're still 4 games up ahead of Atlanta for 6th in the East. So they could use a win, but they don't necessarily need one to the same desperation level that the Suns do. I hope that that's reflected in their play, but we've been hoping for that for weeks now and haven't seen it outside of a 4-game stretch a couple weeks ago.
And the Bucks might not need it, but at the same time, they just lost to this team a week ago, literally a week and a day ago.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Ryan Dunn posterized Giannis. There was trash talk. It was getting chippy. So this is a team that's going to want to beat the Suns. Plus, I feel like all teams look at the Suns and their payroll and what's going on, and they look at food. They think an easy win.
Yes.
And they're going to go out there and they're going to try and take it. But you know what they can't take from us, Gerald?
What's that?
The fact that we're still going to do a post-game show. Win or loss, we'll be reacting to Suns Bucks. all the action. Plus, of course, reacting to the Ringer article that came out earlier today. It'll be Gerald and I, Noah behind the Mac, Steven calling in from Milwaukee, but of course, all the most important people, all of you in the chat. Thank you all for hitting that like button, subscribing to PHNX Sports. We have so much more going on here than just PHNX. Suns, Cardinals, Calais Campbell just signed with the Cardinals. Welcome home, my friend. We missed you, but of course, the draft coming up in a month. We have ASU and U of A continuing their coverage as transfer portal season is hit. The Diamondbacks have a game today. There will be a Diamondbacks post-game show as well. Steven will be back to be doing a Mercury podcast on Thursday, and you can find all of that in one convenient location, all right here on PHNX Sports and over at gophnx.com, where you can also find all of Gerald's wonderful writing. So follow along with us on socials throughout the game, and we'll see you back here for the postgame show.
We all silly like the mayor.